Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as well. We've got some big updates from Fabrizio Romano about a centre-back and pretty much verifies what we were talking about this morning. Also, Donny van der Beek. I mean, look, again, I think this just, to me, confirms why we are living in a bit of a problem in society where people take a headline and they don't look at the story. We'll talk about that Van der Beek one as well. Also, Cavani. We know with Cavani there might be a bit of an issue there. Eric Bailly. And a few other bits as well about Ronaldo, Haaland, and whether we should be prioritising the attack or the defence. But let's get straight into it. One of the big things that is hitting the news this afternoon is quotes from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which I really want to get your opinions on, because as soon as I saw the quote, I knew there was a contradictory quote, which I've actually tweeted recently tonight. But effectively, what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has said is sometimes a trophy can hide the other fact of what's happening at the club. It's in the league position you see if you're progressing really. And he basically went on to said that winning trophies can be an ego chase, like where people want to win trophies because it's an ego thing. And effectively, I think he's digging out Mourinho. I think he's probably having a pop at Arteta. I think it's about, prioritising himself, which is his job, and saying that, look, I haven't won trophies, but who's made the real progress? Now, this has caused a few fans to go, oh my God, here we go. He's saying that trophies aren't important. It's about finishing third in the league. I don't think that's what he's saying. So effectively what he's saying per quote is sometimes a trophy can hide the fact of what's happening at the club. It's in the league position you see if you're really progressing. Now, I can't contradict himself on this. I argue this with Arsenal fans all the time. That the point is that Arsenal will tell you about beating us back in October. Zayn will come on and say, we beat you in October, and they'll think they're better than us because they beat us at Old Trafford in October. They beat us with a penalty that was their goal of the month because they had no other goals. They're 10th in the league, and last year they finished 8th. We're 2nd and 3rd last year. Who's the better team? Who's making the better progress? It's us, but who's won a trophy? They won the FA Cup. So Solskjaer is right there, but it's never, ever, ever as simple as saying that your league position is more important than winning trophies, because I think what you want is both, and I think Solskjaer knows that. So I think everybody who's jumping on Solskjaer tonight saying, oh, he's wrong. He's wrong to say that it's egotistical to want to win trophies. He's wrong to say that the league position is more important than winning trophies. But actually he's right, and he's not contradicting himself, because if I read you this quote, and I think, you know what? I think sometimes criticism of Ole is right. I think he's naive and inexperienced in many areas of his actual coaching, and he's getting better at that. But I'm not going to have him be attacked for this, because what he actually said in January 2 months ago is, talking before the Carabao Cup game against Man City, a semi-final is a chance to get to the final, to get your hands on a trophy in the next round, and for this team it would be very, very big step getting our hands on a trophy. So he said 2 months ago he understands the importance of a trophy, and he understands it would be a big step for the team to get a trophy because it shows your ability to be able to win. But what he was saying today is that, winning a trophy cannot be the be-all and end-all. Your league position's really important because winning a trophy could mask progress. And he's right. I think he's getting unfair criticism because people just want to be angry. But I think what he's effectively saying is that progression over the last couple of years, from getting 3rd to hopefully getting 2nd, would be more important to us than winning an FA Cup and finishing 8th or 10th. And he's absolutely correct. It's about progression. And what he also said was that this progression we get in the league by getting better every year will lead to trophies along the way anyway. So I don't think he's wrong. I think we must always strive as a society, and as Manchester United fans, more importantly, to see the story and not the headline. And I think Solskjaer here is not saying finishing 2nd in the league is more important than winning trophies. What he's saying is that sometimes winning trophies can be somewhat egotistical. Mourinho does live behind his Carabao Cup and Europa League win for Manchester United, and probably thinks he's a better manager than Ole at Manchester United for doing that. And maybe some people agree. Well, so, Mourinho did win 2 trophies. But what's the progression? Is the progression under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer over 3 years better than what Mourinho did over 3 years? And it is. It clearly is. The team is more content. We've got better players with better futures. We're nowhere near winning a title. And I would say that, in some ways, the Mourinho team might even be better than ours. But we're heading in the right direction. I certainly think that. And I do agree with Ole. I want to win trophies, and I know he does as well. But what he's basically saying is that look at Arteta. He won an FA Cup last year. He's 10th. Last year he was 8th. Like their whole season hinges on winning the Europa League. Our season, we've got an FA Cup quarter-final, we've got a massive game tomorrow night, and we're second in the league, and we've basically got top 4. Look, you've got to keep improving. And what I would say is this. Instead of getting angry, get excited, because I really do feel that we are moving towards a situation where there are no more excuses to have. Last year it was 3rd. This season it's 2nd. Next year, there's only one place to go. And, I'm not saying we've got to win the title next year, but there's got to be progression. And I think Solskjaer is very clever, because I think he's not saying, I don't want to win trophies. What he's saying is, your league position shows your progression. If we're 3rd last year, we're 2nd this year, then next year we've got to go better. Points tally or get closer to a title. And if we don't do that, then he's sort of digging his own grave by saying, look, the progress is in the league. And let's not forget this as well. The FA Cup, you could get a really easy run or a half-average run to the final and win the trophy because you play well in the final. Over a 38-game season, you will play everybody twice and you will be where you deserve to be. So look, I don't think, for all the sensationalist stuff out there, and you know me, I would jump on it if I thought it was worth jumping on. I don't agree with everything Ollie says, but I really do not think jumping on Ollie and saying he's wrong to say it's egotistical to win trophies, I don't believe that's what he's saying. And I've read it and I've watched what he said. I don't believe what he's saying. I think what he's actually saying is that you can win a trophy and it can mask the real progress in your club, i.e. you can win a trophy and everything might be falling apart behind it. So I do agree with him on that. I don't think he's deflecting or anything like that. And I think actually we've got a massive game tomorrow as well. And I think that's the important thing. And obviously we're going to be talking about that. But let me just talk about Donny van der Beek before we talk about Cavani and his injury and whether that's the end of him and a few other things about transfers. I think there's a responsibility not to just go off the headline. The headline tonight about Solskjaer is Solskjaer digs out his rivals. And we've got that. Solskjaer's dig at rivals. And he's right. But I think people read that and think it's, it could be a really positive thing. He's basically having a pop at his rivals. But then some people will go with, Ollie's not right to say league position over trophies. Or Ollie's not right to say trophies is about ego. Well, that's not what he said anyway. He didn't say that. He just said sometimes in that situation. And I think people can go off the headline. Like I did a video on That's Football today, and I'm sure many of you watched it, where I said Manchester City are ruining football. I had Manchester City fans quote tweeting my tweet saying, oh, what a prat and all this nonsense. And I'm like, I don't care if people think I'm a prat for my football opinion. I know that's just the way it is. But you didn't watch the bloody video, did you? Because at no point did I say that Manchester City fans are wrong to enjoy the situation they're in. Man City are ruining football because their owners are ruining football, in my opinion. Everybody would love to be in Man City's position, and anybody could have been, because they basically just picked a name out of a hat and went for Man City. It wasn't because they support Man City. So, people go off the headline. Now, bringing it back to Manchester United, there's a really interesting headline. I had people tagging me in this today, right? So the headline is, Donny van der Beek feels loved at Old Trafford and has not asked for an Ajax return. People read that headline, right? And they go, oh, shut up and sit down. Everybody's saying Donny's not happy. He's clearly happy, this, that and the other. And I'm like, okay, I'll actually read the article then, because Donny feels loved and has not asked for Ajax return doesn't mean Donny's happy and is going to stay here for life. Oh, and lo and behold, when you actually read the article below the headline, that's not what's been said at all. So this is actually from Donny van der Beek, Ronald de Boer, who has got the same agent as Donny van der Beek. And what he basically said is, I've spoke to Ajax and they said there's no truth in the story that he wants to go back. He hasn't even asked to speak to Ajax. He's focusing on his recovery from his ankle, and it's not true that he's asked Manchester United to leave. Fine, if it ends there, okay, he's not asked Manchester United to leave. His agent told me that, of course, Donny's not happy that he's not playing. Ooh, that's developed a bit then. He's loved. He's happy at the club. He's not asked to leave. But, oh, hold on. Here's the admittance that he's not happy at not playing. His agents told me that, of course, he's not happy that he's not playing. He's only had 2 starts under Solskjaer, and that's not what he hoped for when he joined United. He's not worried. Of course, he wants to play every game, but he's not worried that he can't succeed. He has to review after this year. Ask him, where do I stand? Do I have a possibility to succeed here or not? Otherwise, I might have to make a move. We will see where it's heading next year. Maybe he stays at Manchester United, or maybe another club is interested for him. So from the headline of Donny feels loved and he's not asked to move, in the actual article, he has to review where he is at the end of the season. Have I got a possibility to succeed here or not? Otherwise, I might have to ask for a move. His agent has told me that, of course, he's not happy that he's not playing. He's only started twice under Solskjaer. So this, you see what I mean? Like, people jump on a headline and go, oh, Donny's a red. Donny's staying at Manchester United. He's committed his future. Anybody who's talking about anything is talking out their arse. And they take that statement from that same person and they hang their reputation on it and say, look, he's clearly happy. He's clearly happy. And then you read the article and you go, all right, well, yeah, it does say that. But the same quote that you're hanging your reputation on, 2 paragraphs later, he's saying at the end of the season he might have to leave. He's not happy about not starting, and he's only started twice this season. So you get a very equalised story, don't you? Donny's happy where he is at the moment. And effectively, in a sentence, Donny's not asked to leave. He's happy where he is at the moment. But there will be a conversation at the end of the season because he's only started twice and he's not happy about that. And that's your story. And it's not the big headline he's staying, and it's not the big headline that he's not going. But people jump on what they want to jump on. And the reality is, with Donny van der Beek, he's played less minutes than Virgil van Dijk in the Premier League, who's been injured for most of it. And he hasn't started enough games. And there is no way on earth that Donny van der Beek signed for Manchester United and expected to start twice for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer by mid-March. So there is a conversation to be had there. There is. I think people are missing the nuance and context of the entire point of Ollie, says Abhinav. Of course they are, because some people just want to jump on a Solskjaer. And I think if you want to jump on Solskjaer, maybe you'll be doing that tomorrow night if we get beat or something like that. But you can't. I'm always going to not have, and that's why I brought up that Van der Beek thing there, because I think people just go with the story where they want to go, and actually you can dig down deeper and get the truth. Mark, in response to your Man City video, I agreed with a lot of it, but United's net spend is just 80 million less than City in the last 10 years, says Angie. But Angie, that's basically what a lot of Man City fans have said to me. But you know what, Angie? I couldn't give a toss how close our net spend is to Man City. They've spent way more than us, and they don't create that money in the last 12 years. Manchester United, our spend, if anybody ever says to me, oh, but Man United have spent £1 billion, just the same as Man City, so what are you moaning about? And I'll tell you what I'm moaning about. I'm moaning about the fact that Manchester United could probably spend £1.5 billion and still be comfortable in relation to the revenue we have earned from our fans and from our success over the last 30 years. We make our money. We still spend £80 million on Harry Maguire whilst also giving £100 million to the Glazers from the club. So Manchester United's revenue that you and I put into that club and sponsors put into that club to get our eyes is made from our football club. Manchester City's money is made by somebody who pulled a name out of a hat and then chucked a load of money at it to just buy football. And that's the difference. I'm not talking about the spend. And let's be honest, Manchester City have spent their money far better than us. Manchester United have recruited technical directors and managers far better than us. Manchester City have built infrastructure in their football club far better than us. I can't criticise Manchester City in relation to their football, their success, their infrastructure and their plan. They've spent their billion far better than we've spent our billion. But the point is, they can spend another billion and another billion and another billion. On what? The club barely existed before 2008. Manchester United's spend is from our revenue. We make that money. They didn't make that money. It was just handed to them. And I think that, to me, in my opinion, and some people might disagree with me, and the full video's on That's Football, but in my opinion, that isn't right, because it just means the next billionaire can come in and buy Newcastle and just buy football. And look, I'll be very, there's an element of bitterness here. Of course there is, because I want to hold on to our treble. I lived that treble. Some of you didn't. It was heroic. It was exhausting. It was the best few months of my footballing life. It was just unbelievable. The last minute goal by Giggs, their final day win against Spurs, that Solskjaer has won it moment. But there were so many other games across that 9 months in packed out stadia in Spain, in Germany, in England, Villa Park. Just what a season that was. And it was a culmination of, we hadn't won the European Cup since '68. Like, it was just a journey for a football club. And you know what this football club means to me. The Busby Babes, George Best, my granddad got me into it. I love this football club and it means something. And that treble is the best thing this club's ever done. It is. And it meant something. And it should endure longer than somebody buying a club they didn't even know about and just pouring a load of money into it for 13 years. And then in a season when there's no fans in the ground, they go and win a bloody quadruple and suddenly they're the greatest club everywhere. It's just wrong. Somebody needs to stop it. But it just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel right to me. And it is an element of bitterness. Of course it is. But it doesn't feel right to me. I know what it took for the club to win that treble. I know the greatness of the players, the manager, the whole journey, the tragedy, everything to get to that point. And you're telling me that this club that didn't really even exist properly as a big club 13 years ago gets a billionaire that comes in and just chucks money after money after money, manager after manager, infrastructure after infrastructure. And within 13 years, they could eclipse what this football club did. I don't like it. I don't like it. And I tell you what I don't like most of all is if they do it, there's no bloody fans in the ground. How can you win a bloody treble when there's no fans in the ground? And you've got a bloody squad where everyone else is knackered. Every other squad is knackered. But they basically got a second team that's better than everyone's first team. So they bought it. They basically bought it. And I've got no problem with that. We all know they've bought it. And Man City fans will say you're bitter. But I'm not bitter. I just don't think it's right. I think it's wrong that people with no footballing background, just billionaires, can walk into football and say, I'm going to buy everything. I'm going to buy your whole history. Everything that's been achieved across the last 50 years, we're just going to buy it in 13 years. We're going to buy the success. We're going to buy the achievements. You know, the Invincibles, they're coming for your record as well. And, you know, I just don't agree with that. But I've gone off. I've gone off onto something here. Make sure you smash a like on the video, by the way. And we have hopefully got our live subscriber counter on. It should change. It has changed. That's great. There we go. So yeah, spoke about Van der Beek. Let's talk about Cavani. Now the Cavani story is interesting. He's only been available for one of our last 9 games, which is rather interesting, isn't it? Happy birthday to Stephen Potter, says Tom Bell. While investment by new owners in football is good, the case of City and PSG is finances of entire countries competing with clubs. Well, it's just bought football, hasn't it? Basically, PSG and Man City, they've just bought football. But you know what? I'll argue that point with anybody, and if somebody disagrees with me, you know, I congratulate you. I've got no problem. But what I have got a problem with is people trying to tell me that my opinion's wrong. I know what I feel. I know what I feel about that topic, and I feel that Manchester City and PSG have ruined football. And will continue to ruin football because it just doesn't feel right to me. It's not the football I grew up with as a kid. It's not the football I've witnessed. And I'm not just talking about Manchester United. I mean, Arsenal's Invincibles was impressive. It was, and it was pure, and it was built on a football club that was built by a manager with not loads of money. And I feel that the Man City thing. I think Pep Guardiola is a fantastic manager, but who could fail in that position? I don't personally think Pellegrini, Mancini, Mark Hughes were good managers. I think if you gave Klopp Man City, if you gave Ancelotti Man City, if you gave Mourinho Man City, Zidane Man City, you know, you could probably name 15 top managers that if you gave them Man City, they would do exactly what Pep Guardiola's done. They wouldn't get them playing that brand of football, but they would still win because it's impossible not to win. It's impossible not to win. The 99 treble was they called it the impossible dream. Pep's treble, or quadruple if he gets it, I would call it the inevitable dream because it's inevitable for me. Well said. Parasite Glazers have bought the club, paying 270 million from their pockets. The rest, even transfers, are being paid by United's own revenues, says Ajmel. What I find really disgusting about Manchester United is that the only people who get it are the fans. Unfortunately, the only people who get this passion are the fans, because Liverpool won the league for the first time in 30 years and we didn't even back our manager. You know, Liverpool won the league for the first time in 30 years and we didn't even back our manager when he finished third. There was no response to our biggest rival being back. There was no response to the fact that if Liverpool had won the league this year, they levelled up with our league title. So don't ever tell me to get excited about our board's restructuring or our board trying to be competitive, because I do not believe it. I think they are parasites. I think they want to make money out of this football club. And I do not believe, in fact, I know they are not interested in getting this club back to where it needs to be, because they do not share the knowledge or passion of you. They don't. Liverpool win the league for the first time in 30 years. They're one title away from levelling up with our 20 times. That's one of the biggest songs sung. And we don't even back our manager in the summer after it. That's how serious they are. They're more interested in taking dividends out of the club in June than they are of backing the manager to try and stop our biggest rival who have a renaissance. And this year, what if City do win a treble or a quadruple? What do you think our response will be to that? Every one of you will be absolutely demanding that we go out there and eclipse the latest rival. They won't do it. So, it's... I ain't getting excited about a backroom reshuffle. I'll get excited when it actually proves, when we reap the dividends from it. But the only people reaping the dividends are the Glazers. Anyway, let's talk about Cavani. So Cavani was hopefully going to be part of the team today, and has basically said that he's not ready, according to reports, to go. So United have trusted him on that. This is not the first time, apparently, this has happened with Cavani. Remember last week we were talking about a game where the fitness department felt he was ready and he said he wasn't. On reflection, I don't actually criticise Cavani too much for this. I think it'd be very easy to sit here and say, this is the biggest game of our season. We've got no Martial already. Cavani would have been a huge help. Zlatan's back for Milan. He's not played for a couple of weeks. Cavani, very close to being on the plane, decides he's not quite ready. Now, Marcus Rashford played injured on Sunday. So I agree with anybody who's going to say, well, look, he's not willing to put his body on the line for Manchester United. But is it surprising he's not going to put his body on the line for Manchester United? He did train today, and Ollie said that he pushes himself really hard in training to make sure he's ready. But could he got himself on that plane for 20 minutes if we needed him? He can't be far off, can he? He can't be far off. And it's all right saying he'll be back for the Leicester game, but Martial might be back for the Leicester game. Martial's not back for this game. We needed Cavani. We needed Cavani tomorrow night, and it's a shame he's not going to be there. But I think the reason he's not going to be there is probably the reason we can't keep him at the club, is that he is very injury prone. And this goes back to the board again. And I did it on Twitter. I'm not going to do it to you lot. I respect you too much. I'm not going to sit here and say I told you so. Max says it's a sign he wants to go. But I feel that on the transfer deadline show back in October, I was furious that we signed Cavani. Not because he was a bad player, but because it was a clear and utter piece of evidence that they'd bottled it, that they hadn't backed the manager and they felt they had to do something. They gave him the number 7 shirt, the most iconic Manchester United shirt. They basically wrapped up a risk and packaged it as a star signing. That's what they did. I'm not going to say they wrapped up a piece of turd, because Cavani's not shit. He's a good player with a very, very good CV. But we weren't looking at this player the week before the transfer window closed. We'd had 4 months where we could have bought him, and we didn't do it. We basically messed up the transfer window. We couldn't get Sancho. We couldn't get Dembele. We needed to do something desperately. And just like Agallo a few months before, we went and repackaged a risk signing as a superstar signing. Oh, he's the number 7, Cavani. And I was never convinced. And I know a lot of people get excited about signings, so I've got no issue with people who did. But I wasn't convinced. I even threw my toys out the pram. I said I'd rather have Josh King. I never want Josh King. But that was just anger on the night. But I was never convinced about the signing, because unlike our board, I actually do our homework. And I don't blame Solskjaer, because at the end of the day, with a day to go in the transfer window, you're offered Cavani or nothing. Everybody's going to take Cavani. So I've got no problem with Solskjaer taking Cavani. What I have a problem with is the utter incompetence of the board again. They went out with hardly any time left in the transfer window and packaged Cavani up as a superstar signing when you'd never been looking at him. And you give him the number 7 shirt as well. You're just trying to pull the fucking wool over the eyes of the fans as per usual, so you can sell a few shirts and everything. But ultimately, Cavani, not his fault. Solskjaer, not his fault, and not the fans' fault for getting excited for it. Whose fault is it? It's the incompetence of the board again, because this is a guy who, when you look at him, in the last 18 months before we bought him, his injury record was atrocious. Muscle injury after muscle injury after muscle injury. And he's been at the club for 5 months, and he's had 4 separate muscle injuries, because he had an injury a couple of weeks ago. He's come back and he's tweaked it again. So you cannot build a team on it. And look, the Southampton goal alone probably means he's worth whatever we're paying him. But he's hardly available for any big games. He's not played one. We've played Man City 3 times. He's not been available for 3 of them. We've got a game against AC Milan tomorrow. He's not available. this is, for me, why Cavani has to go in the summer. And I think Cavani knows he's got to go in the summer. And I think so why should Cavani go and play for Manchester United tomorrow and risk further injury when we're probably not going to give him a contract in the summer anyway? You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is a double-edged sword, because people will be angry with Cavani for not getting on the plane, and I'm sure he could play 20 minutes and he could put his body on the line like Rashford. Agree, tick, 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 I agree with you. But Marcus Rashford's a Manchester United player who's come through the youth setup and he's going to be here for years and years. Cavani's a player that might not be here in 3 months. So why should he put his body on the line when he doesn't feel quite right when he might not be here next year? So, you know what? There's always two sides to look at it. And ultimately, I'm just very, very, very disappointed that Cavani's not going to be there, because when we come towards the game tomorrow, I think that you've definitely now got Rashford, James and Greenwood as a front three, and that worries me against an experienced AC Milan side. I think we'll definitely see McFred in the midfield, and we're going to definitely see Magaluf. So, because Eric Bailly's not fit again, which I'll talk about in a minute. So we've got Dan James, Greenwood and Rashford as our front three. Well, Rashford didn't look right at the weekend. Dan James doesn't look right most of the time. And Greenwood is 19, doing his best. You've got McFred, who we know their limitations. And then you've got Maguire and Lindelof, who've done quite well at the moment, but will need protecting. We need to go there and score a goal. So I'm not even criticising Magaluf or McFred or Dan James or anybody else. But we need to go and score goals. And we've got no Martial and we've got no Cavani. Fair point, Mark. Agree with that. Anyways, let's get the win tomorrow. Thoughts on Bruno as a false nine and Donny as a cam, says Angie S. Well, that brings me on to my next point. I would love to see Pogba and Van der Beek involved in the game tomorrow. But Paul Pogba's not played in 6 weeks. If he starts Paul Pogba tomorrow, he's going to put him on the bloody wing, isn't he? And we need Pogba in the CDM. We need Pogba in the pivot. We need Pogba next to Matic or Fred. That's what he's got to do in that game tomorrow. We need Pogba to start. But I don't think he will. I think he'll go with McFred. And it doesn't mean we can't win. And to be honest with you, just like on Sunday when people weren't happy when we beat West Ham because the team wasn't that great and it was boring, maybe it will be. But siege mentality, we need to get something out of it. And I think that what you're talking about is there's no spine, says Josh. Well, we know that. But and I want to talk about that, Josh, anyway, in a moment. But no Eric Bailly as well. And people say we don't need a centre-back. I'm sure everybody just gets tired of the cycle, really. The cycle of... I said this about Eric Bailly in January. I'm finished with Eric Bailly. I don't trust him anymore. And people were like, oh, you're a bloody horrible... Eric's a lad. Eric's a this, that and the other. Eric Bailly is exactly the centre-back I would love Manchester United to have. He's our best centre-back. When he plays, we play better. But I will not sit here and lie and say I want Eric Bailly to stay at the club after this summer. I want him to be sold. If anyone will buy him, I want him to be sold. And I wish him all the best. And I really do like him. And I think he's our best centre-back. But he is injury-prone. And I don't care if it's Ronaldo, Messi, whatever. Well, maybe actually it's different with Ronaldo and Messi. But if you've got a player that can only play 50% of your games and you don't know from one game to the next whether they're going to be there, how can you build consistency? How can you build a team? This is a massive game for us. Everyone assumed Eric Bailly would start in it. He didn't start at the weekend and he's injured. He didn't even play at the weekend. So he's picked up an injury in training. And it's like, you can't build a team on that. We're trying to close a gap on Manchester City, right? If John Stones gets injured, they bring in Laporte. We can't even start our best centre-back because, well, Ollie won't pick him, but also he's not fit. So we need to let Eric Bailly go, because if you can't trust somebody, and when I say trust, I mean you can trust Eric Bailly as an individual and as a performer when he plays. I trust him more than I do certain other players. But when I'm talking about trust, I'm like, are you going to be there for me? Marcus Rashford, you can trust him. He played injured at the weekend. Eric Bailly, you can't trust his injury record. Cavani, you can't trust his injury record. These players need to go. They're not Phil Jones, they're good players. But if you want to be successful, you can't have first teamers that aren't available for the first team when you need it. And Cavani's a first teamer, and Eric Bailly for me is a first teamer, but they're not first teamers because they're not fit. So they need to go, as far as I'm concerned. But Eric's a top player, says Lee. I think he is, but we need to move on, and that's why we need a centre-back. And I saw something today, I think it was in the Manchester Evening News, actually. If I've misquoted it, I'm sorry. But they basically said that it was a quote, and they were talking about Erling Haaland and basically saying why Manchester United can go for Erling Haaland. And they said something along the lines of, the defence can wait, because Manchester United need a striker. And I was like, this is why I love the United stand. This is why I love the United stand, because the level of intelligence and thinking it through, and the ability to be able to look at something and look at it fairly and look at it on a deeper level, rather than just going, yeah, let's spend all the money on Haaland. That's what you get from a certain level of fan, and I think that's what that quote's about, really. But then you get the fan that goes, hold on a minute. I mean, I saw that lad off ESPN, was it Craig Burley, was saying that if Man United buy Harry Kane, they can win the league. Oh, what a load of crap. You don't watch us play every week anyway, mate, and you're talking out your arse. You know, what you've basically done is you've gone, Man United add world-class strikers to their team, Man United win the title. Well, no, you're wrong. You're very, very wrong, because Manchester United create less chances for their striker than West Ham do for Antonio. So putting Harry Kane in the team or Erling Haaland in the team won't make us score more goals, because they're not strikers who create their own goals. So we need people to create goals. We need to play higher up the pitch. We need somebody from the midfield pivot who can move the ball quicker to Bruno to create the spaces quicker, like we did with Greenwood at the weekend. So the defence can't wait. I would rather have Anthony Martial up front next season with a really good CDM and a really good centre back, and than have Erling Haaland and nothing. Now, Erling Haaland is a better striker than Anthony Martial, but if we've got a better centre defensive midfielder and a better centre back, we will create more chances for Anthony Martial. So what will happen is, if we bring Erling Haaland in next season and buy nobody else, we will probably create about 2 good chances a game for Erling Haaland. If we bring in a centre back and a centre defensive midfielder of the right calibre and sort the right wing out, we will create maybe 5 chances a game for Anthony Martial. And we will be a better team for it. So we need to build a team. The defence can't wait. People who think the defence can wait, let's buy Erling Haaland, are naive, in my opinion, because we need to build a team. The statements of you build a team from the back, the statements of games are won in the midfield, are far more true than the statement that puts a world-class striker in United's team and they'll win the league. One of the most naive statements I've ever heard. Akil is like a frog for United medical team. I mean, what is his role? A good damn specimen for the inexperienced medical staff. Bay's like an ambulance driver who is accident prone. I mean, what the fuck, says Aditya. And also, a lot of our problems regarding injuries were predicted in December, yet nothing in January. Big old zero. Reinforced midfield and defence. Well, yeah, Angie, the midfield is running on empty, really, isn't it? Please smash a like on the video, by the way. We are live. I've got a few thoughts. I mean, tonight I feel like we could just chat for ages, because some of these things I think are deeper points to talk about. United revenue bought the Bucks, Tom Brady, and a Super Bowl. It's a disgrace. Funny thing is, we won't see a penny of that success, as Martin B. Well, I don't know whether that's true, because the system in America is a little bit different, isn't it? I don't even think there was a transfer fee for Tom Brady, because it's a draft system, isn't it? It's wages, probably. And I think American football can be a little bit cheaper. But also, there's some updates from Romano. I'm just trying to think here where I want to go with this. I've dropped the link in the video description. That was it. Chelsea versus Atletico Madrid. I'm doing a watch along. That's why we're a little bit early tonight. So just before 8 o'clock, I'll be moving over from here onto the Chelsea versus Atletico Madrid game. But there's a lot of things I still want to talk about. So I think we'll just go a little bit deep diver whilst I'm watching Chelsea versus Atletico Madrid. So I'm just going to get through the topics, but I'll deep dive some of this on the watch along, which is going to be, I've dropped the link in the video description for that on That's Football, Chelsea versus Atletico Madrid. Welcome to the Members Club, Michael Cullen. So Romano did his podcast today, summary in relation to Manchester United, starting off with Ronaldo. Remember I spoke about Ronaldo this morning in a Pogba swap. Very interesting what he said about Ronaldo. Juventus may sell him. They're going to be sitting down with Ronaldo at the end of the season. Juventus expected more from the Ronaldo situation. They wanted a Champions League. They're spending a lot of money on him. If Ronaldo says he wants to go, they won't stand in his way. He said that his agent, George Mendes, is basically telling clubs to get ready because it might happen. Madrid have been mentioned, but it's not advanced. And Romano was like, I'm not sure that that's what Madrid are looking at doing. I mean, again, you've probably got to look at PSG, haven't you? But there is opportunities with Ronaldo. It's not totally out of the realms of possibility. Now, Milenkovic, who we were talking about this morning, Nikola Milenkovic. A few of you were saying this story is about Manchester United putting a bid in for Nikola Milenkovic. And I said, I'm going to stick with what I've said before. I don't think he's the right profile of centre-back for Manchester United. For me, he's too similar to Maguire. They wouldn't complement each other. And I personally felt that Manchester United's name was being used by his agent to generate interest. Lo and behold, Romano comes out this afternoon and says, Italian reports there's been no offer from Manchester United. This is not a deal that is close. Manchester United have scouted him in the past, but there are a lot of other clubs looking at him as well. So absolutely nothing about Milenkovic is true about an offer or it being close. He has been monitored by United. He said over the last 2 years, I think it's actually longer than that. I think it's going back to the Mourinho days that we've looked at him. So there's nothing in that. He also said about Erling Haaland, Romano, it's not close. Nobody is close. There's a lot of players interested. Manchester City, Chelsea, PSG, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus. He says a lot of clubs would like Erling Haaland. The release clause doesn't kick in until next year, so he's not available for 70 million. Dortmund will want 6 figures, 100 million plus, and it'll be the end of the season that gets decided, because Erling Haaland, they'll have to deal with Dortmund. Whatever club wants to do it, they'll have to deal with Dortmund, Raiola and Haaland, and they will wait to the end of the season to have a look at it. And I said this, didn't I, a couple of weeks ago? Erling Haaland will not be a deal that is done by Manchester United anytime. I don't think it'll be done anytime, but even if it is a deal that Manchester United can be done, we can't do this deal. I mean, I'm sorry, we can't do this deal. We shouldn't do this deal. I would say, controversial, but we shouldn't do this deal. Money should be spent in other areas. But we also can't do this deal. Where are we going to get 100 and something million pounds from? How are we going to compete when Riola's like, United are interested, and he's speaking to Chelsea, he's speaking to Man City, he's speaking to Barcelona? We can't win that race. We cannot. This is a race we cannot win. We should not even try to win. But we are going to spend a summer thinking we can win and waste it. Because you know what's going to happen? Mino Raiola is going to do what he wants to do. He's going to do what's best for him and his clients. If they're going to end the season, he's going to see how the land lies. And if there's a possibility of getting the transfer done, he's going to say, we go to the Euros, we get the Euros out of the way, and then in July, we take our time and we play everybody off each other and we get the best deal for you and me. And it happens towards the end of July. Well, that doesn't help Man United, does it? Because if we're going to buy Erling Haaland, we're going to only buy Erling Haaland because it's going to take all our budget and more. So do you think it's worth going into a race for Erling Haaland all summer with the whole budget to not get him and then be left at the end again? I mean, all right, if we don't get him, maybe we could get some other injury-prone player that used to be great and give him the number 7 shirt. But seriously, I just think, what a waste. Playing devil's advocate, would Haaland not score both chances we create where Martial's struggling? Haaland is deadly, says Maverick Gaming. Wouldn't it? I mean, you make a good point. If Haaland's got 2 chances and Martial's got 5, though, I'd say Martial will score the same amount of chances as Haaland. Haaland's got to score both of his chances. Martial's only got to score 2 out of 5. My point is, Haaland would be playing in a team like the team now. Would you rather watch this team with Haaland in it, or would you rather watch this team with Martial up front, but you've got a top-class CDM, a top-class centre-back, and the right wing sorted? And that's what I'm saying. It's not just about whether Haaland would take the chances. I'm sure he would. But we will create more chances if we build a team first. And if we put Haaland in this team, you're still going to get a deep line, 2 CDMs babysitting, and, counter-attacking football that's not easy on the eye. It's what you want, isn't it? It's what you want. And Steez is right anyway. Haaland is clinical, but he doesn't finish every chance, and you're right, he doesn't. But it's what you want. I mean, I'm only giving you my opinion, and it's a great point. It's a great point. I'm not going to deny that. Thanks someone who's subscribing. The number is I love having the number ticker back. It's great, isn't it? Bottom right hand corner to subscribe. Please smash a like on video as well. Let's have a look what people are saying. Mahmood says bringing Ronaldo relays the whole team's confidence highly, and I don't think Haaland's dream is to play for Leeds. Doobie Guy says, do we even need a right winger? Top class CDM and centre back. We don't need a right winger if we actually give. The only reason I mention right wing is because we need it. Let's start a just giving and buy Mbappe, says Johnny Bones. I would only start a just giving page to sign Mbappe if I and you can do the negotiations. I wouldn't give the 100 million. Imagine if we did a just giving page and we raised a ridiculous amount of money, like 120 million. And then we had a debate and we went, should we give the 120 million for Haaland or should we give the 120 million for a midfielder and a centre-back? And we decided we wanted one of the two. And then we got in touch with Ed Woodward and co. And we said, we've got 120 million, but it must be spent on transfers. And we give them the money. And then at the end of the transfer window, we've got Tyrone Mings and Josh King on a free. And we've spent 30 million. And we're like, where's the 90 million, other 90 million then? I don't know. And then the next day, dividends to the Glazers, 90 million. So we can do a just giving, but we'd have to do the negotiations ourselves as well. Haaland is the shiny new toy. He's brilliant, but we have enough strikers. We need creative midfielders, right wing, centre midfield, and CDM. Our attack will suffer until we do. I think we should build a team, Greg, and then we should build. Then we should get a top class striker. Hi, Marks. Congratulations on 1 million. If the club loves the fans like they say they do, then they're definitely paying attention. 1 million subscribers is hard to ignore. Love from America, says Chris. I wish it was that easy, Chris, but thanks for the super chat, Chris Andromeda as well. Can I just say this though? I only mention we need a right winger because we need a right winger. Our wingers don't create chances for our striker. Bruno creates chances for our striker. McFred don't create chances for our striker. Luke Shaw does it a little bit. Wan-Bissaka does it a little bit. Our wingers don't really create chances for our striker. We need a winger who can do that. Now, I'm not saying Mason Greenwood can't. He looks a little bit better. I don't think Rashford's ever going to really be a massive provider of goals in relation to putting decent crosses into the box because he's not left-footed for a start. So we do need a winger who can put crosses into the box. Now, the issue is we might not need a winger. Palestri's on loan. He could do well there. But we've got Ahmad. We've got Ahmad at the club. Now, the problem with Ahmad is we're probably going to hit the summer without knowing whether he's good enough. So imagine if we spent money on Jadon Sancho and we've got Ahmad and then it's like Ahmad becomes really good or we never find out. This is why Diallo needs game time because we may not need to buy a right winger. We've spent 35 million on a teenager. Are we going to find out what he's about? Because if you buy Sancho, when's Diallo ever going to get game time? We've already got Sancho, you got Rashford, you got James, you got Greenwood. Martial might be still at the club playing off the left wing. We've got to give Diallo a bit of game time to find out whether we even need Jadon Sancho. So we might not need a right winger, in which case it's a CDM and a centre-back. Anyway, look, I'm going to go over live on That's Football. We can continue the chat on there. I've dropped the link in the video description, I think. Let me just check. Yes, I have. In fact, there's 347 people waiting, which is nice. Yeah, we're doing a live watch-along of Chelsea versus Atletico Madrid, but I want to carry on and deep dive into quite a lot of this thing. I really want to get into the whole Solskjaer trophy over the league position thing because I think that's quite a good point. I also want to talk about Cavani's injury a little bit more and progress at Manchester United. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Please smash a like on the video. Loved the show. Lots of passion in there. Lots of good topics. Big shout out to Angie for talking about the Man City thing as well. I think that's always very important. I'm going to be live on That's Football. I've dropped the link in the video description. I'll be live there in about 3 minutes time. So I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching. Big game tomorrow for Manchester United as well. I'll be back in the morning with the news show. I'll see you over on That's Football. And thanks everyone for watching. I really enjoyed the show. It's always good when it has that passion in it. I'll see you in a minute.